Hello, this is Dr. Akin, and in this video, I want to show you a game that I made that'll help you to lose weight. So before I get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about games and about how they could be used and you could design your own if you want to, if you don't want to play the exact one that I'm presenting here. But you could design one of your own that's probably more applicable, and not only will it help you to lose weight, it could help you to achieve some other goals that you might have in your life. So why are games, important? Why are they helpful to us? I want to give you a few examples. When I was in medical school and we were having to read about several hundred pages of notes every week, and then we had to memorize all this stuff and then take a test on it, usually at the end of each week in the second year. It was like every 6 weeks we had a block exam in the first year, but either way, it's a ton of stuff, and a lot of it is just, I'll be frank, is boring, okay? I mean, who cares about recombinant viruses and all of that? So what I did, I found myself creating games while I was in medical school to make it not so boring. And that's the power of games, is they give you a meaning that's beyond just the obvious meaning of what you're doing. I mean, yeah, I was in med school trying to become a doctor, and there's some meaning in that, but it seems so far in the future that it really isn't that helpful. And that's the thing, is goals that are so far in the future aren't really helpful. You want goals that you can hit today and by the end of the day or in the next few hours. That way it keeps it more engaging. So what I would do is I would make a game where I had to read so many pages in so much time. And then I would, after I hit that goal, I'd try to increase the number of pages that I was reading and studying every 20 or 30 minutes. And then another game I made was extending to see how long I could sustain my concentration. The best I ever got was about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, which is pretty dang good. I think probably the average person is about 40 minutes if you're unpracticed. But anyway, games have power because they create meaning, and they create a more immediate engagement than your long-term goals. So another person who did something like this, an interesting story that I learned. In fact, I learned it in this book. This is really an awesome book called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. And Eric Barker was the author on that, and really just a great writer. He's talked about some other books that I've read as well, and he summarizes them in 1 or 2 pages, some very important books, but he summarizes them beautifully, the most important parts of those books. So I'll read anything that he puts out from here on out. But in this book, he talks about a guy named Joe Simpson who was climbing the Ciel de Grande. It was the largest mountain in the southern hemisphere, and the thing is like 21,000 feet up in the air, 21,000 foot high mountain. He had just finished getting to the peak, and they were heading back down when he fell and broke his leg. And being that high up, if you break your leg that early on in the descent, it's pretty much a death sentence. And so he was up there with another guy named Simon, and Simon was going to tie a rope to Joe, and then he was going to lower, and then tie the rope to himself, and then he was going to lower Joe down. Joe was going to kind of slide down on this ice and snow, but they lost eye contact with each other because it was snowing so hard they couldn't even see each other. So Simon's just lowering Joe down. Well, Joe ends up sliding off the side of the mountain, and so Simon's holding him, and Joe's just dangling there off the edge of the mountain. Well, finally, he has to cut the rope, or else they're both going to die. So Joe falls 15 stories. I mean, just imagine the height of that. I mean, it's taller than the hospital that I work at. But amazingly, he didn't die. He landed on an ice bridge that was covered in snow. So it broke his fall, and he didn't break anything else landing on this ice bridge. And then he was able to climb. If he'd missed the ice bridge, he would have fallen into a chasm that was just, an abyss. And who knows how far down it would have been. He certainly would have died. He made his way out of this little crevasse or whatever it was, and then he's dragging this broken leg. You know, his tibia had been jammed up into his knee joint, and so what he would do is he would look at a certain glacier. He'd pick out a glacier and he'd say, okay, I need to get to that glacier in the next 20 minutes. He'd hit the timer on his watch, and then he would start crawling toward that glacier. When he would get there, he'd check his time, see if he made it. Then he would pick another, landmark about the same distance away, hit the timer on his watch, and then he was playing this game. He kept playing this game. That way he wouldn't think about dying. And actually, by the end of it, it didn't matter how bad his leg was hurting. Even after he'd made it off the snow onto hard ground, which was even more painful to his leg, he was so focused in on this game so that he wouldn't think about dying that he actually made it. He crawled 6 miles like this and was found by the people at the base camp. So it saved his life. A game saved his life. This is how powerful it is. And so I kept thinking, well, why can't you just apply this? And I actually have. I've done this before, was apply games to weight loss. So there's 4 things, again, some little tip that I got out of this book, 4 things that games need to be in order to be good games. If you don't design the game right, then it's not going to help you. So first thing is a game needs to be winnable. Don't make a game where the objectives are so far-fetched or that you can't win. A second thing is that it must present a novel challenge. Unique challenge. That's basically what that means. In this case, with weight loss, the challenges don't necessarily have to be unique, but they need to be able to scale up over time, so they need to get more difficult over time. The next thing is your goals of the game must be clear. Make sure that it is a clear and measurable goal. You can't say, well, my goal is in this game is that I'm going to look like a supermodel by a certain date. That it's too ambiguous. It has to be a certain amount of weight that you're going to lose specifically. That's something you can measure. Or inches, on your body. You can measure that. And then finally, the game has to provide feedback. In this case, your goals are the feedback. I mean, when you have lost the weight, you will see that your game is actually working. So, what is my game? The weight loss game. All right, so this is how I do my game here. I have so many things that I do that I can score points on in my game. So here's the list of things, and some of these have to do with weight loss, but some of them have to do with goals that I want to accomplish. So I'm a night owl. I struggle with that, and it costs me. It costs me productivity and just having a good, sharp mind and getting my fitness done. So for me, going to bed by 9:30, bed at 9:30 gets me 5 points. And waking up by 5:30, because if you go to bed, you got to get up early, or else you've defeated the whole purpose, right? It gives me 2 points. Eating no sugar or bread. Eat no sugar or bread is going to be 2 points. And that means for the day. Can't eat any sugar or bread the whole day to get 2 points. If I do cardio, now I have to pick one exercise or the other. I can't do both. So it's either weightlifting or cardio. I can't do both weightlifting and cardio and get points for both. So, and it has to be for at least 30 minutes. At least 30 minutes in my case, but you could make it 15 minutes or what have you. So cardio is worth 2 points. And weights is worth 1 point. All right, and then reading. Read is 2 points a day. And that's for 1 hour. I have to read for 1 hour. And then finally, reading neurosurgery, reading in my industry. I can get 2 points per week by reading for 1 hour. So that makes sure that I stay current in what I do for my main job. And then the final thing for me is putting together a YouTube video, posting a YouTube video. YouTube video post is worth 10 points because it's very important to me. So I made it big points. And that's kind of a game changer. That's how you come from behind if you're in trouble. So now, what I did was I picked 9 teams from my high school days that I used to play, and that makes it more real to me because I can kind of see their colors and everything in my mind, and it makes me want to beat them a little bit more. So they are always the opponents. So each of these teams is already, I'm going to write down what their score at the end of the game is going to be already. So I know, Washington High School made this many points, and Lincoln High School made this many points, and Jefferson High School made this many points, and I got to beat that number of points that they've got. Okay, so I know their score at the beginning of each week. Each game, to me, the game is like a football game, right? So each week is the whole game from starting Wednesday morning to Tuesday evening. That's when I start in the middle of the week. So Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. the game starts and it ends after at the end of 7 days on Tuesday or Wednesday Tuesday night. Their score never changes. Okay, so it's just that each team is getting a higher score. Okay. So I think back to those days, who was the best teams? I give them the higher scores. I remember them as being harder to beat. And the championship team is going to be the team that knocked us out of the district damn championship at the end. But that's fine. So screw you, Germantown. Anyway, all right. So now you look at all these things, and you got to pick the things that you would do every day. Okay. So making a YouTube video is not something I'm going to do every day. So let's exclude that. Read neurosurgery, NSG. Read neurosurgery, I'm only doing that once a week. So exclude those 2 things. The rest of this, all this happens every single day. So to find a good starting point level for your team, your opponent, you're gonna figure that the early teams aren't that good, so they're only going to do these things maybe 4 days a week, okay? So you take their total of those things you do every day, all right? And that's 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Oops, don't mark it on their carpet. All right, 5, 2, 7, 9, 10, 12, okay? So 12 times 4 days a week is 48 points, right? And then you can decide based on how important these goals are to you. So for me, I'm going to say, yes, they are definitely going to post at least one YouTube video. So, because that's an important goal, so I'm going to say every one of my opponents is going to achieve that goal already. So they get 58 points, and then I'll give them the 2 points for that. So that's 60 points. So the first team of the season is going to score 60 points, okay? And that means every day. So Monday, I woke up by 5:30. I get my 2 points for waking up by 5:30. I went to bed that day by 9:30. I get 5 points for that. You see how important that is to me, right? That's 5 points. So then I didn't eat sugar for the day. And I'll tell you, this comes in real handy when you get invited out to eat somewhere and you're at a nice restaurant where the lights are low and the food is exquisitely good. And you're going to be there for a couple hours, and there is nothing to restrain your appetite except that you want to beat Germantown. All right? And it actually works if you put that in your head. Cardio weights. You can't do both, so I pick one or the other. And like I say, if I'm behind, well, I just hit the cardio a few times and come from behind win, see? And then if I really want to, when the teams are getting really difficult and they're up to 80 points for the week, that means I'm going to have to produce 2 or 3 videos, for that week to make it happen. But it's an important goal to me. I want to be a success on YouTube at some point. So I created this game to make me a success. I hope you found this video interesting. I hope you try it. You can design the game any way that you want to do it. You can change things, change goals, change the weight of the points, but just do the math similar to the way I did it. And if you like this video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you have ideas for your own games, please email me at eric@mindfitnessmethod.com. See you next time.